Welcome everyone to Advanced Webinars. Today is November 14th, 2019, and this is a special episode. It's not on the usual third Thursday of each month. So because this is a special episode, this will be a little bit different. This one will be shorter. It will be a 1 hour long episode. And also this one will be recorded in YouTube. So usually we don't record them and make them public. This specific one will be recorded and put into YouTube because it's mostly new features of QuickBooks Online, and I'm getting a lot of these things from the conference, so I want to make this open to the public. This is not necessarily a how-to webinar. So today's table of contents, we'll spend about a few minutes talking about the webinar series and the upcoming episode, and then we'll go deep dive into a couple of new features, the new managed workflow features, the new batch transaction features, and also the export to Google Sheets feature. It's not a table of contents, but it will be thrown in there. And then we'll talk about what's coming, some of the things that were announced that are coming up. Okay, so there are none of the things that we're going to cover here are available in QuickBooks Simple Start, Essentials, or Plus. This is all going to be QuickBooks Online QuickBooks Online Advanced, which is the only one that has new features, and QuickBooks Online Accountant. So about me, first time you hear about me, or first time that you hear me talk or seen my videos, my webinars, check out my YouTube channel. There's plenty of content there, mostly around QuickBooks Online accounting and that sort of thing. There's my phone number and there's my email if you need to contact me directly for whatever reason. Now, this webinar series is usually every third Thursday of each month, 2 hours long, and it gets recorded and only available for paid members. Today's a special episode because we're doing new features for QuickBooks Online, and it's not necessarily a general technical deep dive training webinar. This is more to expose you to the new things that are coming on. So real quick, just to give you a quick recap, we've done from April through October, we've done already quite a few episodes, 7 episodes, and we have done deep dive into each of these topics. If you are a paid member of the webinar series, you will have access to all these pre-recorded webinars. Now, coming up for the future, starting next Monday, the new Alt Accountant program starts. I'll talk about that towards the end of the webinar. We have a few spots left. So for any of you looking to transform your practice, I'll give you some resources and a free webinar that I did earlier this week, kind of explaining how the program works. And so that starts this Monday. So if you were thinking about doing that, today's the last day to sign up, actually. Then on Thursday of next week, on the 21st, we'll be doing importing transactions into QuickBooks Online. We'll talk about the few built-in features inside QuickBooks Online for importing transactions. There's a few in Advanced and some on the Essentials and Plus version. And then we'll talk about using Transaction Pro Importer, pretty much the first app in the app ecosystem to allow you to import transactions. Then the following Thursday on the 12th, we'll be talking about managing accounts receivable and collections in QuickBooks Online, and we're doing a bit of a deep dive into Invoice Sherpa, great app to remind customers to pay you and set up scheduled reminders. It's just a really great app to spring forward your collections. Then back into the regular episodes on December 19th, we'll be doing a deep dive into QuickBooks Online Payroll. We'll be talking about the new payroll offerings that QuickBooks offers, and also how the setup process works in QuickBooks Online Payroll. Then on January 16th, we'll be talking about user permissions. So we're talking about some of the things that they have improved and they're improving in the next couple of months with custom user permissions. And we'll do a little bit more of advanced custom reports, especially with custom fields. Then on February 20th, we'll talk about e-commerce. And I have a guest speaker who's going to be awesome. She does e-commerce. That's all she does. And she'll be helping us kind of talk through some of the apps and some of the built-in functions for e-commerce. Then on March, we'll be talking about retail, restaurant business. And then we'll be closing up this series right after tax season on April 16th, talking about some post-tax season tips and tricks. And that will be the end of the entire advanced webinar series on QuickBooks Online. Right, so real quick, all these things come from QuickBooks Connect, which is the big conference that QuickBooks does every year. This was the 6th year. If you missed the conference, CPA Academy pre-recorded like 10 or 12 of the sessions. So you can click on that link there to go straight to it, and you can watch the webinar version of the live sessions that were taught. Now, my session, which is called the Alt Accountant Workshop, it had 300 people. And as you can see on the picture, that we were all sitting on desks, that we were all sort of working with each other. In this particular picture, we're working on the unique positioning statement, so that the simple way to message what your focus is as a practitioner. So obviously, it's not the same being there in person and interacting with other folks versus doing a webinar format. But if you can get some value out of the webinar version, just click on that link and you'll be able to attend sort of the webinar version of what would have been the live program. Anyway, for the folks that attended, thank you very much for attending. I had a blast teaching that session, and I got a lot of great reviews, people that also liked attending that session. So I appreciate the reciprocal feedback where we both satisfied, me as a trainer and you as an attendee. So let's jump right in. We're going to talk about new features in QuickBooks Online Advanced. So I'll cover as many as possible in the slides, and then we'll jump in product in the demo to talk about some of them. So the first one is the Google Sheets integration. So any report that you show up, any report that you display on the screen, when you click on the export button, which is that button that you go to export to Excel or to PDF, there's going to be a third option under there that says export to Google Sheets. Now, I've been testing this for the past month. I like it. It's almost flawless. I mean, in my opinion, it's missing some features, but it works really, really well. Basically, it takes the report, exports it into what would be an Excel spreadsheet, but in Google Sheets. One thing I tell you that I run into a lot of problems with is if your pop-up blocker is turned on, every time you try to go from QuickBooks to the Google Sheets, you're going to have that little icon in the top saying, "Hey, we blocked this pop-up," or just have to go in there and allow it manually for the Google Sheet to pop up. You can also turn off the pop-ups, but I'm not sure how many people actually want to do that. So it works really well. I love it, and then it shows up as a brand new sheet in here. Now, some of the things that I believe it's missing. So I love the integration. It works really well. Some of the things I'm missing is the ability to update or to refresh. So that's not there. So right now, every time you create a sheet, it creates a new sheet, right? So there's no way for you to select the current sheet and sort of update or refresh the data that's in there. That's not available yet. I don't know if it'll ever be there, but that's missing, and it's very important to bring that into the open. The other thing is, I think a write-only access into Google Drive is missing. Right now, in order for this to work, the only possible way for you to be able to show up something in your Google Drive is to give QuickBooks unlimited permissions to your Google Drive. As a matter of fact, when you set up the connection, it says you're giving QuickBooks access to deleting, creating, erasing, modifying anything in your Google Drive. And as much as I trust QuickBooks to not create an app that will destroy the data in my Google Drive, I would much prefer to have a user permission that would only write that file or write into a specific folder or something like that. So it's not basically wide open and you can touch anything within my Google Drive. I think that's missing. That was my suggestion to the Intuit rep when I was at QuickBooks Connect. The other thing is, I wish I could mess with the formatting, right? So make it a little bit more like a flat file, or get rid of maybe some of the font sizes, font style, left justification, center justification. You can't do that. So right now, when you do an export, it looks pretty much almost identical to what the report looks like, and it's all pre-formatted. Some of the cells are merged, right? So I kind of wish I had a little bit more functionality when it comes to that. So my suggestion to you is, as you test this, go ahead and send the feedback. One thing that the Intuit folks were very, very adamant about is sending feedback through here. I actually spoke to one of the reps over there, and I told them, look, man, you really don't read that feedback, right? You really don't. You receive so much crap there. There's no way that you read that feedback. And they actually showed me, how do they read the feedback and how it comes through, and showed me, how they mark it read and how they share it with the team. So they are reading this feedback, which is pretty interesting. So I would urge you, so as you test these new features, first thing you do is put that feedback in there. If you think something's missing, if you think something should be different, send that feedback in there because that would be useful, especially if you send a screenshot with the feedback. That's also useful as well. Not all the feedback buttons allow you to upload a screenshot. Some do, and the ones that do it. That would be my suggestion. The next great feature in QuickBooks Online Advanced that they added is called workflows. Now, you can tell they just got started with this, but they started off with a bang. I think these are really, really neat. So what you can do in QuickBooks Online Advanced is you can create some automation workflows specifically pertaining to reminding your customers to pay you, so sending payment reminders. You can also send a receipt, like an email receipt, letting your customers know that you did get a payment. That's something that a lot of people have been asking for is, hey, I'm going to receive a payment, and I want an email to automatically let the client know that we, in fact, did receive your payment. Especially when people send through a check, they get a little bit more worried about, hey, has that person received my check? Have they cashed the check? So some customers get antsy when they send a check. So you can actually automate. So QuickBooks automatically sends an email saying, we got your check, thank you. We applied it to invoice, whatever. Now there's also reminders for vendor bills. So you can actually remind yourself or a team member via email that, hey, you have some bills coming up due. So that's available as a workflow. The other one is adding some information into the memo. So when the invoice hasn't been paid for more than 30 days or 60 days or something like that, you can have QuickBooks append something to the memo, write something like, hey, we're going to send you to collections if you don't pay this, or we're going to add a fee, if you don't pay this, something like that. So there's a couple of interesting things in there. I urge you to look at them. I'm going to jump in the demo and show you some of them real quick if we can pretty soon. Now, so what's missing, in my opinion, and this is my new thing, right? Every time I review a new feature, I'm going to tell you what, in my opinion, is missing. And hopefully somebody from Intuit, it's looking at this and paying attention, right? So one of the things I thought that were missing is the ability to create a workflow that's not automatic. So right now, any workflow you create is automatic. So if you say, hey, all these customers, send them a reminder automatically, that's the only option I have. It'll be nice to have a workflow that I can push manually, where I can have it saved as a template, press a button and push it manually. I'm sure that in the future, that's going to be very useful to some people. I would love to see a workflow that's specifically on sending an email notification if a transaction was changed prior to closing date, or if a reconciled transaction was modified, deleted, something messing up the reconciliation. I would love to see some workflows around there, at least some email notifications around there. I would love to see some workflows around expenditures, right? Like, for example, a particular expense account has more than a certain dollar amount being posted to it within a specific time period, or a specific vendor. You spend more than $50,000 a year or whatever on this vendor. It would be really nice to create some workflows around that. And lastly, I didn't see anything where I can connect my customer type, my class, or my location. So it would be interesting to tell QuickBooks, hey, if you see in this location so many invoices being created, or not enough invoices being created, or dollar amounts over a certain dollar amounts, location classes or customer type, that would be nice too. So those are the two that I think will be kind of nice. I mean, those are the few that I think will be kind of nice. So again, as you test the new workflow feature, go into feedback and add your own feedback. You can copy and paste my feedback if you like mine, but come up with your own, because Intuit right now, these are all sort of quasi beta features, and they're still getting feedback as from the users. Now, the other feature that I think is really, really great, again, missing a lot of stuff, but really great, is the new batch enter transactions for invoices, expenses, and checks. You actually have a screen in which you can create, duplicate, or batch create for multiple transactions in one shot. And you can either do that with invoices, expenses, or checks. Actually, let me show that feature live. So let me go into QBO here, log in. So we'll do this one live on the screen. Can you please double check that you can see QuickBooks on the screen? This is a live webinar here. So can you please tell me, yep, you can see it? Perfect. Okay. So we're going to go into batch enter. So here under new in the create button, which is the plus sign, we're going to click on batch transactions. And you're going to have invoices, checks, and expenses. So we'll do a couple here to kind of show you what this workflow looks like. It is pretty interesting. So let's say, for example, I want to create one invoice that's going to go to all my customers all in one shot. This might be useful if we're dealing with maybe homeowners associations where everybody gets the same invoice in one shot, that sort of thing. So if we go here to invoices as a transaction type, on the action, I go to create. I'm going to cover modify in a second. Modify, it's really, really great. They just came up with that. So I'm going to show you how that works. So I'm going to go to create. Then I'm going to create an invoice. So I'm going to go ahead and create an invoice. I'll select here November 1st. I'm going to give it, let's say, 15 days terms. I'm going to select a product, whichever it has to be. I'll put here monthly service. Okay, and I'll spell this correctly because that's partially important. And let's say this is going to be $500, right? So I have one invoice. I haven't selected the customer yet. And then I can click on the drop-down menu here. And it says I got a couple choices. So one is I can create a new line item. So if I want to have more than one line in that invoice, I can do that. Obviously delete that. We don't need to do that. Or we can duplicate the invoice if we create one duplicated, or we can do duplicate for multiple customers. So once we click on duplicate for multiple customers, we can actually select all the customers that we want to include in this batch invoicing. So I'll select all my customers. I personally think that we have missing the ability to group customers by customer type. That would be awesome, but that's not there. That's what's missing now. But I can at least select customer by customer, click on next, and notice automatically all the invoices get created in one shot. All in one shot, right? So again, for companies are all going to be creating the same invoice, same dollar amount, same memo, same product every month, all in one shot, that would be really, really useful. Okay, so then once you're done with this, you can click on save or save and print if you want to print the invoices, and we'll click on save, and we're done. And this system will literally create all the invoices in one shot. Now, when I go here, I'm going to close that. I'm going to click on the recent transactions menu and notice, look at all the invoices that were created. You can see them right there. There's all the invoices that were created. We can click on any of them and we can see them. And they're just a regular invoice, just like any other one. Now, this is not meant to do recurring invoices. This is batching as an action, not batching as recurring. So to make recurring, you still have to create each invoice as a recurring transaction. So that's not there yet. I would strongly recommend that you think about that when you add the feedback. Okay, you definitely want to do that when you add the feedback. Now, something I like about this also is the ability to change all these in one shot. So, for example, let's say I'm looking at these invoices. I created a whole bunch, and I forgot to put something in the description, for example. So I'm going to come in here, going to create. I'm going to click on batch actions. And then I'm going to click on change it from create to modify. And then once I create a modify, I can select the date range. So, and then I click on search. Then all the invoices within the date range will show up in here. Like I can select all the invoices I want to modify. I can do select all also if I want to. But I can select all the invoices I want to modify. Click on the edit button. There's a big edit button up there in the black line. And they all show up on the screen. And now, right now, they're under edit mode. So if I can come back here and I can add, let's say, monthly service, landscaping, or whatever, right? I don't know, whatever is contextual. Unfortunately, there isn't like a copy down button where we'll just copy down. So you still have to do sort of like copy paste. Okay, it's still better than going one by one, but you will copy paste all the things that you want to modify. Let's say this was in 500, it's supposed to be 550. So again, I'll just change all these here, and no copy down, no copy paste. From an Excel spreadsheet, I can copy and paste in each field, but I can't copy down from a spreadsheet. Then I click on save, and then all three invoices get changed in one shot. Pretty easy. Within a minute or so, I was able to change 3 invoices. We'll wait for that to finish. And to answer some questions here, so Here in the chat box, one person saying, could I copy and paste this from Excel the same way that QuickBooks Desktop works? The answer is no. It doesn't support copy and paste into multiple fields. I can copy and paste into one specific field, but I can't copy and paste as a spreadsheet. I don't think they'll ever be able to do that. It will be nice, but it's very difficult to copy and paste into a browser. Somebody says when I did the recurring, the net due date changed. So Sherry, the reason for that is because it will always use the terms, the default terms for the customer. So the default terms for the customer will drive the batch creation of the terms in those invoices. And somebody else is asking, can they be made recurring? Oh, I think I mentioned that. So yeah, no, they cannot be made recurring. You still have to make recurring transactions manually. Okay. Something else worth mentioning in this feature is that you can do invoices, checks, and expenses, but they're all going to be per group. So you do all expenses in one shot, all bills in one shot, all invoices in one shot. In my opinion, checks and expenses are kind of useless if I can't copy and paste from an Excel file. I think invoicing might be a bit more useful because we do invoice in batch, multiple customers in one shot. But generally speaking, I still have to just type everything here manually, right? So I would have to come in here, put the transaction number, select the payee, just do Comcast here, whatever it is. So you still have to do everything the same way, select the payee, select the account that you're paying from. Let's do it here, Chase, because this was a new QuickBooks Online file, so I'll create that. And then the category, let's say bank service charges, dollar amount. I mean, I think you could argue that this is probably faster than using the check register and doing it all through here. But again, I'm not 100% sure if I love this feature if I can't copy and paste from Excel, or if I have bank feeds. Obviously, this is not really that useful. But the tool has some benefits on the invoice side. Obviously, duplicating works. In here, you can duplicate the expense. So if I got 2 charges from Chipotle, I can just come in here, duplicate, and then just change the $1 amount that's here. So depending on how your workflow works, how the data is being given to you, and how you're going to push it into QuickBooks, this might or might not be useful for you. But it's cool to have it. I think it's a great step forward, especially for QuickBooks Desktop users that are accustomed to having that batch feature in there. All right, cool. So let's go back into the presentation. There we go. Okay, so some of the notes, what's missing, in my opinion, I think bills, not expenses, sorry for that. Expenses are there. So bills, sales receipts, journal entries would be really, really nice to have. Some people have told me that they would love to see credit memos, vendor memos, and customer payments. For that matter, just add every transaction type in there, right? So, I mean, obviously every transaction type it's missing, but I think bills and sales receipts are really important. And of course, journal entries would be nice. Now, there's no copy and paste capabilities as a grid. You can copy and paste on each field, but not as a grid. There's no copy down. So in QuickBooks Desktop, there's an option where you put one thing and then you click copy down and it goes all the way down. That's not there. Obviously, having CSV Excel import capabilities would be nice as well. Not available, unfortunately. And sorting. I think sorting is really important. That's not available in this field. Like the way the engineers put this together, I assume that they figured that sorting wasn't important or valuable in this case. So those are the things that are missing, but they're really good to have. And this is only in QuickBooks Online Advanced. This is not in Essentials, Plus, or Simple Start. And to be perfectly honest with you, especially after this conference, it's really obvious to me that charging $150 a month for QuickBooks is the Intuit strategy. So it's not like, oh, they forgot to add it to Plus or Essentials. This is very purposeful, right? They're trying to add all the resources to Advanced because that's the market they want to be in. They want to be in the market of the higher monthly payments for QuickBooks Online. And it is because they've done studies, and most of the competition that's out there, with the exception of maybe Xero, which is almost playing at the same price of Intuit, but most of the competition that's adding new features, feature-rich software, it's on that $100 to $200 a month expense, especially for teams of 5 or more. So the other products are still available, but it is obvious that most of the new cool features that will be added will be on the advanced. So I would say if you're an accounting professional, just kind of get used to having the conversation with your clients that paying $150 a month for QuickBooks Online, it's going to be the new normal. Now, let's talk about some of the features that are coming. So these are the things that they announced that I physically don't see in my own QuickBooks file, so I can't demo it. So one is the new custom roles. So this is getting deeper into customized roles. You'll be able to create a role where you define what are the areas of QuickBooks you want that person to have access to. So as you create multiple users, you don't have to basically customize the access screen, the access level for each user. You create a role, and then you just add that role into that user. So it'll be a lot more, it'll be easier to add more users to QuickBooks Online with a custom role. So that's coming probably the next couple of months. They didn't say a date, but be watching for that. Obviously, once that comes out, hopefully by December, if that's out, I'll demo it on our advanced webinar and do a deep dive on that naturally. The other thing that we saw that I think was pretty interesting is they have a new dashboard called the revenue stream, and it's going to be mostly focused around income. So giving the user more reports around trends in income. More and more customers are selling recurring sales, subscription type services, fixed monthly services. So you'll be able to group these by account, by product. So you'll be able to basically laser focus on what are the trends, at least graphical trends, for the last 12 months regarding revenue. So revenue streams, it's a income-driven, revenue-driven dashboard that's coming into QuickBooks Online Advanced. Okay, now let's switch gears a little bit and talk about QuickBooks Online Accountant, which for accountants that are managing other clients' files, regardless of what subscription the client has, all accountants will have access to this. So the first one is the business performance dashboard. That's the biggest feature that's available now, and the business performance dashboard will give you 5 key metrics right there on the homepage when you click on business performance, which is going to be your income, cost of goods sold, gross profit, expenses, and net profit. You'll be able to select 2 date ranges. So typically current month, last month, something like that, versus either the previous month or the previous year. You have a quick snapshot of what that looks like. This is similar to how Fathom shows the reports. Obviously, this is a much simpler version of Fathom. You get those key metrics right there in front of the screen. Make sure that the QuickBooks user has at least visibility to what's going on. Is this going up? This is going down? Red or green, right? So green is going up in a good way. Red is going up in a bad way, right? So that's a really important thing. So some of the things that, as I deep dive into this feature, those are the key 5 performance metrics: income, COGS, gross profit, expenses, and net profit. But also there's a trend analysis to 8 more metrics: gross profit margin, and I'll show you what that looks like, net profit margin, income, expenses, AP, AR, current ratio, and quick ratio. So this is what it looks like. You can actually also export a PDF, multiple pages, it's like 5 pages or so, where you can see the graphic trend of all of those 13 metrics that we talked about, and you can see the net change in the last 12 months. So if any of those specific metrics that you want to kind of see, hey, which month it's causing a big increase or a big decrease in this metric, you're going to have a rolling 12-month analysis in a PDF report that you can give to your client. And again, this is more moving towards that advisory type services where we focus on graphical ways to display what's going on with their finances and make it a lot easier to explain, a lot easier to to see issues and plan for the future. So I love what they're doing with this. I think they're going to go really, really far with it. I love it. It's available on the Accountant edition, which means that any of your clients with any version of QuickBooks will have access to this. But Fathom, which is a third-party app that was included in QuickBooks Online Advanced, was very popular, is very popular, and this is sort of a mini version of Fathom that's available across the board to all versions of QuickBooks Online, as long as you're an accountant logged in as an accountant. Okay, so some of the things that I think it's missing, customizable KPIs would be pretty cool for me to pick maybe my own ratio where I can take a specific income account and a specific expense account and say, hey, give me the ratio of this income versus this expense, right? So if I have, if I'm doing advertising to sell a particular product and I want to track, sort of my return on investment on advertising, that would be pretty cool. So that's not available. Customizable KPI would be awesome. The other thing is exporting this to Excel would be great as well, because in PDF, it's a little bit difficult to modify. Because when you export a PDF, it's just one big 5-page PDF. So sometimes I don't want to give my client 13 graphs to look at. Maybe I just want to give them 3 graphs to look at, and I want to choose which graphs that we want to see, plus some of the new things, some additional things I would like to add on my own. So I think that's missing. That would be very nice to see. Also being able to compare more periods, like not just this and last, but maybe looking at 3 periods, 4 periods. That would be kind of nice to see. So again, test this out, go into the feedback and add all your feedback. So if you agree with me, copy and paste the ones I have here, or also obviously add your own that you think would help improve this feature. So let's talk about some of the features that are coming to QuickBooks Online Accountant. This is by far the most exciting thing. This was talked about in a main stage. So I'm going to show you some screenshots from the main stage, because this stuff is not available yet for anyone to see. There was a small group of people that were chosen for an early access who are beta testing it. So hopefully when they are done beta testing it and giving their feedback, within the next couple of months, we should start seeing this. This is going to be groundbreaking stuff, guys. Really, really, really great. I mean, Arish, who works for Intuit, made a great presentation in stage about it. And sorry, screenshots are a little bit fainted because this is not from an actual screen. This is from the main stage. This is from a big screen that was on the main stage. So things are not as clear. But a couple of things, they're going to have an optimization center, which is basically going to give you a summarized list of all the tasks that you're doing that have been, let's call it, optimized. So QuickBooks will determine optimize as something that was downloaded through the bank, matched through the bank, not have to be modified or changed as it downloads, and it's also being automatically created with bank rules. And then what Intuit's going to start doing is they'll start measuring what percentage of your transactions are optimized, automated, versus the ones that are being entered manually, in an effort to help you tweak for efficiency. Now, I'm a big fan of being more efficient. I don't believe that efficiency is the only way to serve your clients. But when you're in the middle of tax season and dealing with a lot of type of clients, I think it'll be very useful to know at least which files are set up for automation. And obviously, we're not competing against machines, right? So Intuit also wants to give us, the accountants, the tools to make us feel that we can compete against machines. So, all right. So let me go to the next one. So this is a sort of a graphical version of how Intuit presents to, how they want to present to us how efficient certain areas are. So as Intuit sees, quote, high efficiency transactions, which again, they're being downloaded, they're being automatically codified, you're creating bank rules for them, and that percentage is going to just keep going up and up the more you do. And I think it's going to be natural, right? You get a new client that you don't have any bank rules for. It takes a while for the bank rules to be built, but the idea is that you are, it will be almost like a game, right? Like you're going to be looking to increase the score as you go optimizing that customer. And then maybe as a service provider, you can make some decisions about pricing or renewal. If you have a customer that no matter how much hard you try, you can't get past 50% efficiency, where you're doing a lot of manual processes, then you can make a decision about whether you want to keep that customer or give them some advice about changing banks or changing workflows or changing the way to enter stuff into QuickBooks, that sort of thing. Maybe changing some expenditure behaviors, not putting so many personal things in there, whatever, right? So I think it's really interesting. I have yet to know whether or not this is going to help me or not help me, but I think the overall direction looks very attractive, and kudos to Intuit for coming up with it. So as soon as this comes out, we'll test it, and we'll be doing deep dive workflows on this. Now, the thing that I thought it was huge, and should have been there. In all fairness, it should have been there already. But you're going to be able to copy or duplicate bank feeds across customers. So let's say, for example, you have one customer where the bank feeds has a certain set of rules, manual rules you created, and you're saying, man, this one customer has a perfect set of bank feeds. We're at 80% efficiency. Almost all the vendors are tied to an expense account of some sort. And then I have another customer that looks just like this one, and I don't want to create all those bank feeds from scratch. So now you'll be able to take the rules from the bank feeds, duplicate them across multiple customers, and you can actually pick and choose which categories you want to copy over or duplicate. So that's really, really powerful. That's really, really powerful. And I can't wait to duplicate some of my bank rules across multiple customers, especially with tax season coming up and a lot of work coming up. It'll be great to have that one perfect customer duplicate the bank rules. I keep saying bank feeds, bank rules across multiple customers. So this got a cheering standing ovation when she presented it. The other thing that she presented is some new features are going to be added to the business performance. It's industry comparison, benchmarking. So QuickBooks now has 4 million customers in QuickBooks Online. And they can, internally, they can group it and dissect the data in whichever way, shape, or form. They made multiple attempts to make sure they bring out to the open that this is anonymized data. So Intuit is technically not looking at any specific company file, but they're taking the aggregate data, performance, right? Sales, expenses, and then now they're going to give you the ability to compare. So you'll be able to compare your type of company in a specific sales range, revenue range, within a particular locality. How does your company compare to your peers? So you can have some interesting conversations as an accountant saying, look, it looks like your meals and entertainment or your meals and your travel is way higher than the average. So we should take steps towards making it go down, or look at your advertising is way low. You should invest more in advertising. Take a look at your the trends. During the summer, most companies see the income go down. As a matter of fact, your income doesn't go down as much as the average. So you must be doing something right. I just see so many potential great conversations you can have with your client with benchmarks. Now, personally, I think that comparing yourself as a business owner, comparing myself against the competition is not the best possible strategy. I think you should stand out. You should be different. You shouldn't be using what your competitions are doing in order to make decisions about how to run your business. But I think at least information as a baseline, as a reference, is really valuable. And nowadays, you kind of have to pay a third-party app or something to get industry comparisons like that. So again, I like that Intuit is bringing that into the open. The other thing that looks really, really interesting, another screenshot from her presentation, is you'll be able to see all your clients sort of listed in one big list and see their efficiency score, and you can sort them by efficiency score. So if you are a firm looking to be as efficient as possible, again, I'm more of a person that likes effectiveness versus efficiency, but that's a different webinar. But if you're looking to just incrementally increase your efficiency, then the strategy would be sort all your clients by efficiency score. Take a look at the ones that are on the bottom. See what they're doing that's causing you to be less efficient, aka it takes you longer to close the books, or you have to enter a lot of transactions manually. Take a look at the ones that are highly efficient, see what they're doing, and then hopefully take some of the learnings from the highly efficient customers and apply it to the not so efficient customers. Maybe you can drop the customers, maybe you can increase the price, whatever decision you want to make. At least you have the tools, the things that you knew in your gut feeling. Now you got the tools to sort of confirm that. So I love that as well. So the whole presentation where she talked about all these features is on YouTube. So if you click on that link, or if you go to that link, you'll be able to see it. It's about a 30-minute presentation. She does a full demo. Well, not a full demo, but she does sort of a video presentation of all these things that are coming. And I think it's worth to look at, especially if you can get excited about any of these features. Now, the other, actually, before I go into QuickBooks Payroll, I want to go into the questions here and see if I answered all the questions. So let's see what questions we have here. So is this available to all the clients under QuickBooks Online Accountant, or is it only available okay, so this let me go back for a second, because I think this was a sort of a two-part question. So these features here, everything I covered on QuickBooks Online Advanced up to batch, enter expenses and checks, Google Sheets integration, all these things that I covered at the beginning, that's for QuickBooks Online Advanced customers only, and someone logging in as an accountant will have access to it. All these features on Business Performance Dashboard that will not be available for the end user, it will only available for the accountant, regardless of what version of QuickBooks the customer is using. So all these things that I covered here, when they come out, they're only going to be available for the accountant, not to the end user. But for QuickBooks Online Advanced users, there is a dashboard that has some limited version of this. So I wanted to make sure we cover that as well. Let's see. Okay, somebody's saying, can you put the YouTube link in the chat box? Yes, I will do that. So I'm making the assumption that you downloaded the slides. That's why I said click on the link. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to cover here is new changes to payroll. Now, I personally haven't put any customers under this new payroll scheme. I think this just came out this week. QuickBooks will no longer, moving forward, for all new customers, pay attention to this, will no longer offer a payroll feature or a payroll offering or a payroll add-on in which the customer manually pays the taxes or the customer manually files the forms. Very important. Legacy customers will likely continue to use the product until everything is rolled out, but all new customers will not have an option to have a payroll service in which they click pay taxes or they click on file forms. All of the QuickBooks features, by default, QuickBooks will automatically pay the taxes and they will automatically file the forms. Okay? Intuit decided, for whatever reason, one way, shape, or form, QuickBooks decided that they're only going to offer payroll that's sort of kind of full service. So it will have that full service, but even within the full service, there's going to be multiple layers. And that is only QuickBooks Online. We haven't heard anything about QuickBooks Desktop or any of these things being affected QuickBooks Desktop yet. But in the QuickBooks Online world, this will be true. The core is going to cost $45 base fee plus $4 per employee. So $45 base fee for plus $4 per employee. The premium is going to be one step up. It's going to have a HR support center, so they're going to do some HR support. They're going to have premium time tracking, which basically means the base version of T-Sheets. And they will have some additional support when it comes to the setup. Now, the elite version, which will be the most expensive, will be retailing at $125 base plus $10 per employee. It's going to have the elite version of T-Sheets. It's going to have onboarding, so they'll basically help you bring all the beginning balances, all the year-to-dates They'll help you bring everything in. They're going to have a personal HR advisor, which is, I don't know what that looks like yet, but that's what they're advertising, which is going to be basically a small team that's going to give the users a higher level of HR support, and the tax penalty guarantee, which means they're going to take responsibility over any errors over payroll. So they're going to take, obviously, a lot longer to do the setup. They're going to be reviewing that setup, and they'll take more time to make sure that your payroll is set up correctly when there's a person involved with it. So that's pretty interesting. I don't know exactly when they're going to convert the current payroll clients into this system. They didn't announce that, but they did announce that all new clients will be into this system automatically. Again, nothing to do with QuickBooks Desktop. I don't know yet if QuickBooks Desktop will be forced into these changes, but just watch for emails. Emails are going to be coming pretty soon. Now, the cost for the premium, I didn't cover it. The cost for the premium retail is $75 per user plus $8 per employee. Now, wholesale will apply. So if you're an accountant that it's paying for your client's QuickBooks Online file and want to add payroll to it, wholesale will have basically a 50% discount on the base fee. The per employee fee is not going to change, but the base fee will be the same. It will be the same 50% discount. So that should give you an idea what will start happening if you start adding your customers into that. So my first thing I would say is increase your payroll costs, your payroll fees to your clients, your payroll prices if you're going to be offering payroll. Okay, so let me open it up for some more Q&A here. And also this link here that you see, I'll also copy and paste it into the chat. But if you have the slides, you can get it from there. That will have more details around that. Okay. And the last thing is, well, I don't see any other questions. I think somebody says, when is QBO Advanced available? QBO Advanced is available now, to be clear. QBO Advanced is an option that's available. It's just more expensive than the regular versions. When will they be rolling out benchmarking and efficiency tools? So Alicia, they said soon. Unfortunately, they said soon, and they didn't say a specific date. For the people that want to download the slides, let me put that link again. And by the way, I'm going to email you pretty soon. As soon as this is done, I'm going to email you the slides, and I'm going to post this into YouTube and give you a copy of the recording so you can see all that. So the last thing I'd like to cover here is, since today's the last day to sign up for the Alt Accountant program, and we have 2 spots left, I'll do a quick infomercial about it. If you haven't seen what it's all about, you can click on that link, and I did a 1-hour preview to show you exactly what it's going to look like. It's a transformative workshop for anyone that wants to take their practice to the next level. It's everything that I personally have learned in the last couple of years that I think is important and significant in order to grow your practice. Is my own philosophy about pricing, about marketing, about how I work with my clients. It starts on Monday. We have quite a few people signed up for it. We actually have 2 spots left, so we can close the next group. It starts on Monday the 18th, ends December the 20th. It's 4 weeks, although there's a little bit of a break for Thanksgiving, so it's really 5 weeks. But during Thanksgiving, we won't have that much work because there's a lot of work. The time commitment is 8 to 10 hours a week. There's meetings and there's also homework, and there'll be groups of 4 to 5 depending on the final number of people that sign up. There'll be groups of 4 to 5, and we'll be doing a lecture. You'll be doing homework. You will actually be creating a plan. That plan will be a living document that hopefully becomes the catalyst for transformation for 2020. You're going to get group feedback and personal feedback from myself and Michael, who will be helping me do this. And again, today is the last day to register. So today's the last day to register. Go to that link, hectorgarcia.com/alt-accountant. Upcoming episodes of advanced webinars. I mentioned this at the beginning, just in case you missed it. Next week, importing transactions into QuickBooks Online. We'll talk about built-in features and also Transaction Pro Importer. The week after, we'll be doing a deep dive into the desktop version of Transaction Pro Importer. For some of you desktop folks still available out there. And the week after, December 12th, we'll be doing managing accounts receivables in QBO, and we'll be talking about Invoice Sherpa. Great app. I saw it at QuickBooks Connect. I sat with the owners of Invoice Sherpa, and they kind of showed me everything that they're doing, and it's a really amazing app. So I think you'll enjoy it quite a bit, seeing what the app can do. Then in December, we'll be doing payroll. We'll be talking about payroll even more, and we'll be doing a whole setup and showing you what the payroll experience looks like. January, we'll be talking about user permissions and custom reports. February, e-commerce. March, retail restaurants. And April will be the last episode of this series. We'll be talking about post-tax season tips and tricks. Any questions or comments about anything, email me, hector@garciacpa.com, and we'll be ending this one early. So thank you very, very much for attending, and I'll see you all next week.